Thank you, dear viewer, for tuning in, and welcome to our second episode of the Kenyan Youth Mentorship Program. My guest today is Ms. Robi Khoki, who is the lecturer of Journalism and Communication Studies here at USIU Africa, and also a member of the Student Advising and Mentorship Committee, still here at USIU Africa. Ms. Robi Khoki, thank you so much and welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
I'll begin with the matter of mentorship. I've realized that you have the issue of mentorship for students at USIU at heart. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Being part of the committee, why is mentorship for the young people so important for you?
I always believe that it's always good to follow up students, not just from the class perspective, but also from the perspective where they can give back to other students. Because they have gone through the teaching experience, they've gone through the working experience, they've gone through life experiences, which then they can share with the young people. I believe that there's that type of knowledge you cannot pass in the classroom, and therefore it's important to have the mentorship program that more or less gives students insights into what it really is to be in the field or to be a journalist for that matter.
Okay. So is that your aim for the program, like to see young people being informed of what exactly is happening?
Yes, I'm a parent. So as a parent, I always want to have my students, they view me as a parent to them too. So to have a real view of what they need to put while into their studies while in school, the experiences they need to have in school, so that those experiences can add value to what they will get outside. So I normally like to see students who have initiative, who are engaged, who understand the requirements of what they need to do in school and follow up. And I believe that once they are able to start their life career in school, then it's very easy for them to transit outside the school environment.
Do you think universities are doing enough when it comes to matters of youth mentorship, particularly about pertaining their students?
Mentorship is in the universities normally a personal thing. It is normally based on friendships. It's normally based on how the student and the faculty, develop relationships outside the classroom. But formalized mentorship in the university, I'm sure in many universities, is a challenge. And so USIU has taken that step to try and institutionalize mentorship. But when we looked at it as a committee and in my thinking, I thought that the best person to mentor the students is normally an alumni, somebody who's going through the same experiences, somebody who understands what it is to be a USIU student, to study journalism, and then somebody who's practiced. For us who are here in academia, our mentorship would be, if you want to be a lecturer, then this is what you need to do. For me, now my thinking was, why not just get the alumni out in their way to give back, to be able to come and tell the students this is what the real life is, and then enforce it further by making it a peer-to-peer kind of, not really peer, but experience to inexperienced kind of relationship, and see whether the mentorship will work. However, we as faculty, of course, have to rally behind. We are the force behind making sure this happens, because we know who would give the best, would give best back to the students. We can encourage the alumni to give back. We can also encourage students within the university to still do peer mentoring, and in that process, everybody gains in one way or the other.
Wow. You took part in, or you convened the alumni meeting. I understand that was the first one?
Yes.
The alumni meeting that was held here in 2017?
Yes.
Was that part of the mentorship plan?
No, I just felt like, oh no, we have this alumni, they're profiled outside, they're prominent, and I just felt that they needed a space where they could share their common experiences, their life experiences, and opportunities. So I just took the initiative. I like taking initiative.
Wow.
I like being innovative. So I just took the initiative to put them together. Some of them were in our master's program, and I just felt like if we rallied those in the master's and those outside, would come up with a strong body that would bring back to the society. So for me, it was more or less. I missed them too.
Oh, wow.
So I tried to bring them back,
Oh,
so that
yeah.
they can remember us and not be so high profile outside and then not come back, Yeah.
You've gone to South Africa for your doctorate?
No, I'm actually doing it online. Like I'm doing it on Skype and such with my supervisor.
Okay.
So I'm a distant learning student. But I was previously in Daystar. I did my coursework there. But after tragedy in my family, I decided, I couldn't continue and then pursued UNISA. And that's where I currently am.
From your experience, from how you, after having those events, have you gotten feedback from students? How can you rate the effectiveness of the mentorship program that you've initiated?
Okay. I think for the alumni group, they have just morphed into their own group. I've tried to bring in structure. No one seems to pay attention. But one thing I can outline is during the Dusit incident, there was one student who was helping, who was locating friends of alumni who were in the building, literally, and saving them. So for me, I felt that was a very good move. The WhatsApp group also is very vibrant about opportunities, sharing contacts, sharing opportunities, and just keeping together. So for me, that has been well. Some alumni have been coming in as guests. So many of them, Alan, Abdi, they've been coming in, Chacha, they've been coming in as guests during class presentations, and I think that has really added value. Just the other day, we had a younger crop of the alumni coming in, barely 2 years out of college, and they were coming to tell the others what they are doing, and I think it was very inspirational. I'm looking forward to the alumni, of course, now being guided to engage further to drive the mentorship program, but amongst themselves much better.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So now let's switch to Matters Journalism, about Matters mentoring young people who are right now in Kenya. So there's a need that I feel that young people who left high school need to be told what exactly to expect when they come to campus on matters pertaining careers.
Yes.
Many have false ideas about what particular careers have to offer.
Yes.
So I will be a bit selfish and begin with my course, journalism. I would like to ask you, you're a lecturer of journalism and communication.
Yes.
What is journalism about?
Journalism is just about telling stories creatively and making sure that they fall within the mandate or the kind of limitations that the profession puts onto it. The news values stand, that is the story balanced? Have you given people the two sides of the story? Have you been able to collect facts, verify the facts? Is it about proximity? Those things guide how we tell stories. So it's not just about creating stories and mutating them and providing fake news. There are rules and regulations about how you tell the story. The impression that people have about journalism is glamour. Yes, that's the impression they have about journalism. But journalism, per se, as a profession, is a lot of hard work with a lot of back-end work in terms of producers, directors, in terms of editors, people who are behind the scene to make sure that the final product meets the needs of their audiences. So one thing I've realized about people who think about journalism, they think it's easy, it's laissez-faire, but journalism doesn't have hours. You work 24/7. Journalism is very, very tedious. I had a student of mine during a violent session having to carry the camera because the cameraman left it behind. So you have heavy loads you're carrying all the time. You have to rush from one place to another. The job is erratic. It's not like 8 to 5. Yeah. You're always up and down the place. And nowadays there's an added risk of insecurity and attacks. So journalism is not as it is portrayed as glamorous. People just look at the anchorage, the final product, or the news story, and they think that, oh my God, that's journalism. But journalism has a lot of work before you get to see the front of the camera.
the kind of perception that people have about journalism being sort of glamorous, partly not really has to blame on, but is contributed to by what they see, because people ideally see the end product and not the process that it takes. What do you think that a young person aspiring to become a journalist should know about what happens behind the scenes?
Journalism is like teaching. It's a noble job because you have to be able to put aside yourself and follow a story through. You have to be able to think about the public and what is of interest to them. You have to be able to kind of take sacrifices, because it can take toll on your personal life. It can be demanding on your personal life, so you need to be able to consider those factors when you're getting into journalism. But just like teaching, it's one of those jobs that you'll never sleep feeling sad you're doing, because you're adding value to other people's lives. And not to paint the picture so bleak, journalism nowadays is one of those careers that you can self-employ. You can be a media house by yourself. Yes, of course. I mean, you can produce, you can gather knowledge, produce and put it online. This whole weekend, I spent the whole weekend watching Kenyan productions on Netflix, YouTube, and, I'm like, oh, we don't need a media house anymore. So it's one of those jobs that really, if you are passionate and you have an idea, you can be an entrepreneur in the area. And I can give you examples. We have Eugene Bugwa, who started the other days, not 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, and somehow got to be able to produce Young Rich, if you know, and now he has his own media house. So it is something that if you have that entrepreneurial streak, you can always have an income. Journal and Namu, of course, is a media house, and they are going in, many more of them, to do a lot of production. Besides that, you can also be a PR practitioner, and you can still be a consultant. And in print, you can, many of the very top students are writers of Kenyan and African issues, but they are paid in US dollars. So it's something that you can actually make a career of, but you need to be disciplined enough, and you need to be focused enough, and you need to know how to manage yourself outside the employment bracket.
A lot of people may argue that now that we have a lot of knowledge that is being distributed online, there may not be that much a need to go to a university or a college to seek this kind of education. But despite this kind of knowledge that is there online, there is still importance in the university education. Is that a statement you agree with?
Yes, Bill Gates went back to school, didn't he? Yes, he did. And so did what's the Facebook person, his name? Yeah, they all went back to school. Why? Why did they go back to school? So yes, you can have years out of school. Yes, you can manage your business. You can, but at some point, somebody will need something extra from you, and that will be education, and not just Form 4 education. It will have to be university education. That's why you see that even in the Kenyan context today, the governors and the leaders have to prove that they've gone to school. Because now managing resources and making decisions is about strategy. It's about what you learn in school. It's not just about, just saying, oh, now I have these things, what do I do with them? No, you don't have to look confused. You need to have some order, and that's what education does to you. It orders your thoughts, it orders your behavior, it reflects on what you need to do. So if Bill Gates went back to school, who are you?
All right. About students who want to pursue journalism, some may come because they performed well in school. Some come because some people tell them, maybe the family members tell them, maybe they can make a good career out of journalism. What are the qualities that you know of a person that can make a good journalist?
In my years of teaching, I can spot in my class the minute I walk in, those who will be worthwhile journalists.
Wow.
Because, yes, it's very easy to spot people who are going to be making it, and it's very easy to tell them you will make it, because there is that extra can I call it X factor? Not really X for it, but there's that X factor, even based on how the student's entry behavior in first year and second year is, how frequently you see that child with the gadgets, how often the person is curious about the content you are teaching in class. You can also tell in terms of how engaged they are with what's going on in class. And what happens with our industry is that it's so small. Those who click in your mind very fast when you're asked for interns, those are the ones who end up making it. And it's not by default. It's just that they are responsive, they are interested. They are people who are curious, and they are normally very intelligent. So journalism is just not for anybody. It has to be somebody who can analyze, pass judgment over issues. You can be able to tell stories, and then make them interesting enough for people to pay attention.
About the same, right now, I've come to understand, even through my years of studying, that journalism is more about the interest that somebody has in the cause. What do employers look for when they seek to employ journalists?
Media. I like to say media is the enemy of journalism, but it's okay. I don't like to say that. Media, depending on why it exists, if it's commercial media, it will look for people who will increase their ratings, or it will look for stories which they might not be. They might be affiliated to those telling those stories, but that will raise their profile, because commercial media seeks to make revenue through advertising, which is a big challenge during the digital media age, the digital media age. So they will look for highly technical persons in production, in like editing, in the back-end work, producers. But they will place whoever they think the public will love, and probably will not really consider whether they are really strong in journalism. But even if they're strong in journalism, they should be able to sell the organization more. If it's public institutions or those that are not really commercial, then they'll look for who can tell the story best, and who can do the investigation best. And normally it's a team of people who are creative about what they're doing. Yes.
A lot of people do not know that those who would want to do journalism, some are blind to the options that we have in media. Break down those for us.
Actually, what we have is a multifunctional journalist.
Okay.
You cannot be in PR if you can't write anymore. you cannot be in broadcast if you can't write, and you cannot be in digital media if you can't write, because you have to create content, and content is written. So for me, print is kind of like the basis of journalism. And then we have print media confined to media houses. Those would be basically around news reporting. It would be around features, if possible, specialized reporting such as business reporting, and then there would be the investigative desk. The investigative desk, of course, then would have to spend a lot of time or work in collaboration with other people to be able to tell those stories. So that's basically what I see in mainstream media. But if you are a correspondent internationally, you will tend to send your story, and if it captures the interest of the editor, then they'll be able to print. There is also this other element of what they call citizen journalism nowadays, where people are on the ground, they write stories, send them in, and the media house might tweak them or edit them further, and then present them as a story, or use them as leads to guide their stories. There is another upcoming area which I think most of us don't explore, is working for correspondents, as correspondents for international media houses, which I'm seeing is the trend. Long time, media houses used to parachute their journalists here for 1-2 days Now, it has been discovered that no, it doesn't give the real picture, it doesn't give the real flavor, and the story, it doesn't take ample time to develop the story. So the trend nowadays is to get local freelance journalists to be affiliates or correspondents, and then of course they can be paid at international rates. So for me, I think that would be like the way to look. But now most of the time you'll be self-employed trying to get into these entities so that they can recognize you as a partner. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Let's talk about an aspect of one thing about journalism that has been happening for a long time, especially when social media was introduced. So we find today that a lot of people go online to give responses, to give their own opinions about people, about journalists, about stories that are happening. But lately you've been vocal about a particular topic, and that is the gender-based violence, particularly on women in the media industry. Why is this important to you to talk about this issue?
I got to work with AMWIC, which is an organization I am a member of, in a research that talked about sexual reproductive health rights. And in the process of doing the quantitative research, I realized, oh my God, this issue of GBV is really being hyped and is high and probably needs to be interrogated further. And then in the process, I also me and my colleague, Dr. Njoroge, got a grant on the elimination, capacity strengthening of community-based organizations and NGOs in advocacy for the elimination of GVB. So of course then that now became something we are still doing for 1 year down the road. I also did another grant on countering violence, extremism, and I saw the women, especially from the Muslim community, comment about the kind of troubles they have that are linked to GVB. That led to now the online violence against journalists, because they are prominent women in society, and I've done another one with a group of politicians, academicians, and various women, just to see whether this violence perpetrated online is similar to that offline, and to talk about the emotional traumas, to talk about the triggers, the nature, and why it exists. So for me, I see it as a very critical study to educate not just the public, but even policymakers on what they need to do so that they eradicate points of discrimination, that people are conscious that what they do online is actually violence. The other day I saw one of our famous bloggers kind of, what was the word? Kind of body shaming a CS who had been transferred from one ministry to another, and the response by the men was very good. Like, don't body shame a woman, you don't have to talk about her features. So for me, it is educational, and it helps people be conscious, okay, about what they're doing online and how it affects others in society. I'm also doing one on screen fit for anchors, and I think that will be able to help us make policy where anchors are treated as journalists who can tell stories and not just beautiful faces that they can put online. So for me, it's more about how do I change attitudes, how do I change beliefs, how do I empower people to understand what they're doing and the impact on it in terms of gender-based violence. I also teach the gender reporting class. Yes, so now there we discuss issues of patriarchy, matriarchy, masculinity, and how it's discriminative. You know, we discuss all those things so that people are at the point where we are more literate about what gender issues are, rather than just saying it's men versus women, it's power versus the powerless. There are other aspects that come out that are important.
Should this be a discouraging factor to those who want to pursue the female journalists, aspiring journalists?
No, it should be making the journalism profession safer for them to work in those spaces. such that they don't have to think that they have to change the way they look or the way they talk or how they do it. They just have to focus on whether they have the journalistic skills and whether they are good on that. I think for me, it's a plus in removing elements of discrimination that people took for granted and institutionalizing journalism, which looks at women journalists as journalists, just as they look at male journalists. Thank you so much.